Today we're going to basically be talking through assignment revision. And of course, I'm not going to be doing assignment revision with the actual case study because that would be me telling you guys the answers. So we're going to actually be using another case that's also a disruptive innovation. So we're going to be looking at that case as opposed to the Uber case because, of course, I can't go through the Uber case with you and tell you guys what to put down because I would, again, as I said, be telling you guys what the answers are. So what we are basically going to do today is we're going to go through the assignment questions, and I'm going to basically tell you how I would like them answered more or less, with reference, of course, to the other case study and not the actual case study that's in the assignment. So we know that they are talking about Uber in the assignment. They give you a very big prelude in terms of Uber over here. So we know the assignment also is about out of 100 marks, and they put this wonderful thing over here, referencing rubric. Most of you guys have been really good with this. Some of you haven't, but again, from the people I see here, it's like preaching to the converted in a way. Guys, please, in-text reference, that means reference in your questions and have a reference list at the bottom, and the reference list at the bottom has to be Harvard-style referencing. I say this because they say a maximum number of 5 marks against the percentage awarded can be taken off, so you don't actually want to lose those 5 marks. So now I've said that a few times. But again, I will repeat it because it keeps happening. Not with all of you, but definitely with some. I have definitely seen this. Okay, so basically how they've broken up the questions is per learning area. So the first one refers to learning unit 1, and they talk about business exploitation of information and communication technology systems, which is our very first set of lectures. And they look specifically at elaborating on critical success factors, namely project, technical, and organizational, that Uber had to address. Now, for the purposes of this lecture, we're not looking at Uber per se, because as I said, we can't, because that would be giving you the answers. But we're going to be looking at this website here, which I'm going to also post in the chat so you guys can take a look as well. So we are looking at Airbnb, by the way. Yeah. I think, or I hope that's the link that I was looking at. Disruptive innovation. Okay, so this over here is basically the case study of Airbnb. And the actual site, if you like. We're just going to look at the local context one. So we're just going to go to this wonderful Airbnb over here. So they talk about Airbnb and they give it a bit of background over here, and how it's basically a disruptive innovation. This is basically an essay that talks about how Airbnb has become a major disruptor in the hospitality industry and how it is an actual disruptive innovation. And basically they give it a bit of background. It was founded in 2018, blah, blah, blah. So I think if you know the premise of Airbnb, you can actually rent out your place at a certain price and people can book in, and yeah, vice versa. If you're looking for a place to stay, you can basically select people's homes. So it's actually really brought on this whole big disruption to the hospitality industry, particularly with hotels and guest houses. Yeah, hosts are able to collect payment for accommodations using the cloud-based platform. So they do give us some nice technical insight for it. And Airbnb founders place themselves in the renter's shoes. They realize images of accommodations is very important. So basically the founders themselves traveled to New York with a camera, interacted with hosts, and replaced non-appealing pictures with high-resolution, beautiful pictures. Now that's quite cool. I actually didn't know that. Yeah, so they also wanted to ensure safety, and basically this would gain renters more popularity. So they probably had a rating system. Also, no, hosts can set prices using two methods on the platform. They can use the Airbnb price calculator, and so it is quite actually a technical system if you look at it. It's got this cloud-based platform. They have a calculator. They've actually got quite an intense setup, and I say this because it actually is going to feed into question 1. So yeah, so basically this talked a bit about Airbnb, just to give you guys a little bit of background. You guys probably do already know a bit about it anyway, but if we have to take a look at question 1, elaborate on the critical success factors, namely project, technical, and organizational. And yes, we cannot say Uber because, as I said, that would be giving you guys the answers. But if we have to look at these according to your textbook, we got a long story on each of these over here. But project factors will be, we know that having a project champion is important, but an enterprise system project often takes several years. And in this time period, people often move on. Similarly, members of the initial project team may not stay for the entire duration of the project. And we have found that when new members join, they might not be brought in to the project ideal, such as recognizing the importance of vanilla implementation. And this is important because projects often begin with a lot of fanfare. Okay, true. So how does this impact us or our situation if we have to look at Airbnb, even if we have to look at Uber? Well, you would have to say, or you would have to look at if you can get information on the founders of these projects, the founders of Uber, the founders of Airbnb. And as you can see, even in the essay, you can see that the owners are quite involved because they actually flew to New York to actually take better pictures. So they are quite involved. So what you're going to need to find is, in terms of their projects or in terms of that particular project, do they have the set number of staff? Are they like a big happy family? Do they have a lot of staff that they take in? Is there high staff turnover? And basically these sort of details would sort of give you an insight into how successful a project is in a way. Because generally, if people stay in a project from the outset right up till the end, generally it works a lot better. So if I have to take another example of this, if you own a shop somewhere, right? You own a clothing shop, a small retail shop. If you are an owner and you are there all the time, it works and runs a lot better than if you stay at home and you hire a manager to oversee things. So yeah, as I say, very small example, but you guys have to do some degree of research into this. I know it's 5 marks, so yeah, don't kill yourself with intense details for this one. Technical factors. So here we're looking at the actual technical systems. This essay even mentions that they used, if we have to look at Airbnb, they use a cloud-based infrastructure. So it is possible to plan resources for various technical jobs that need to be done, configuring tables, cleaning data, and testing. And this is very, very technical. It's the database itself that they're talking about. You guys don't have to look at the integration of databases, etc. It'll be nice if you do get information on that. However, it would be any technical factor at all. What is it that they use? What challenges could they have faced when implementing any of their systems? So that's what you have to look into, and that's what you would at a level have to research. Yeah, and then we go down to organizational change factors. So while most implementation plans include resources for the organizational change program that'll be important for getting people to change their practices, research demonstrates that the organizational change resources are earmarked for project and often reallocated to technical problems that are inevitable, not budgeted for. So you have to look at what about their organization had to change at a level to get people to change the way they thought about things to make that particular business a success. Now, with disruptive innovations like Uber, like Airbnb, like now like Netflix, a lot of things had to change in terms of people's perspectives. Again, in terms of the definition your textbook's given you, it's given you this, which I've taken verbatim from the textbook. However, this question still is one that you have to research around, which is annoying for the mark scheme, which is 5 marks. Anyway, moving on a bit. Question 2. Find examples from the case study showing how Uber may have made use of the internet and other information and communication technologies. Now, again, I can't talk for Uber, but hey, let's take a look at Airbnb. How have they made use of the internet and other information communication technologies? Well, they've done extensively on the internet. They are an internet-run business, so to speak, right? And you could see this just by looking at their website. Okay, so their website's quite nice. It's giving you quite a lot of detail. But besides just critiquing the website, it's basically, I would say, they primarily are running on the internet. What you are going to also look at in terms of this question is how they promoted their business, right? Have they used, because they talk about communications technology, and we know that nowadays communication technologies extend to social media, etc. How have they promoted their business? How have they made use of the information and communication network? But you can also talk about how they've made use of the information communication network with regards to their website. Okay, so of course people don't have to phone them. I mean, who phones anybody anymore? They can sign up, they can log in, they can host their own home, they can host an experience. You can paste, and obviously you can check in and check out and see where it is. Yeah, so how have they used information and communication technology? They've used it in a huge way. You can also check to see if they have an app that would extend to them making use of information and communication technology. Of course, if you look at the Uber example, I know I'm not supposed to give you guys answers, but you know, I always do slip in these things. Uber is extensively using information and communication technologies. You just have to say why you think that's the case, with references, of course. Explain why ICT development is difficult, especially for an organization such as Uber. It's not, okay, it's not the first metered taxi operator. I think they got the wording wrong there. It's definitely the first online metered taxi operator, I would say, though. So again, you're going to look for possible technical issues that could have been an issue. So how you would do this is you would find, through research, what were the challenges that Uber experienced in terms of their development of their app, right? Which is the same we could do for, as I would say, Airbnb. What would be the possible technical issues that they would come across? So again, a lot of it is you would refer to the textbook, but you would use a lot of information that you would have to research. So your reference list, I would say, for this assignment would be significant. Now, this is the one I wanted to really talk about, and that's question 3. So they talk about explaining Uber's strategy of disruption and innovation in the metered taxi industry. And I hate the way this question is phrased, because look at it, look at this particularly. Disruption and innovation. Can you tell me what you hate about this question. Unless you don't hate it, and then I could be the only one just absolutely hating on this question.
I think
But
you just tell us why you hate it.
yeah,
Wait,
I mean, we probably just hate it generally, just because it's a question. But yeah,
because now now we know that there's disruptive innovations, right? So there's disruptive innovations and there's sustainable innovations. So we know that, okay, I'm gonna give you the answer here. But I mean, it's not really giving you the answer. They've actually pretty much said Uber is a disruptive technology, right? So Uber's more disruptive innovation. And there's also sustainable innovation. And if we have to go back to these beautiful lectures that I did much earlier in the semester, they say disruptive technology is an innovation that significantly alters the way consumers, industries, and businesses operate. A disruptive technology sweeps away the systems or habits it replaces because it has attributes that are recognizably superior. Great stuff. However, there's disruptive innovations and there's sustainable innovations. And as I wonderfully mentioned, sustainable innovations was you've already got a product that's doing really, really well, right? But it's targeted toward your high-end users. Like, for example, your Apple products. All your Apple products have already got their market, right? And generally, we know that their products are expensive. So yeah, they're not really geared for the layperson who wants just an entry-level smartphone. However, when an innovation or when a company like Apple decides, okay, I'm going to target my low, so I'm going to release an entry-level smartphone, like I think it's called the Apple SE, if I'm not mistaken, came out about a year or two ago, and it was literally released as your entry-level smartphone so that people could, who just wanted a smartphone but wanted the Apple experience, they could get it at a relatively cheap price. I think the price of that, the Apple SE at that point was about 2,000, 2,500, which was actually pretty cheap for an entry-level entry-level iPhone. So why do I talk about this? Well, they want you to say, basically, they want you to class whether you think Uber is a disruptive innovation and why you believe it's a disruptive innovation. So it's a 25-mark question, guys. So what does this mean? It's an essay. You're going to have an introduction. This introduction is going to talk about this company, blah, 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 blah. Within this essay, we are going to talk about Uber strategies and why I believe it is a disruptive innovation as opposed to a sustainable innovation. We know it's not a sustainable innovation because Uber targeted the lower end market. Just like we would say Airbnb. Airbnb, when they started off, their technology wasn't so great. So your disruptive innovations, what they generally do is they basically put out a solution, generally a technology-based solution, an app, a website. And as they get more popular, they then gradually start to target the high-end markets. So they target the lower-end market first, the people that are like, okay, let me try this out. It seems cheaper than, the other services that are out there. And then when they start really enjoying it and everybody starts jumping on, then they push all the money from the profits they get into the IT infrastructure, and then they start targeting the high-end markets. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on talking about disruptive innovations. So you can then put in all the categories we spoke about, right? I believe that Uber is a disruptive innovation. This is why. I don't believe it is a sustainable innovation. This is why. You are also going to throw in, I believe that Uber might be a product innovation. I don't believe it's a process innovation. Or I think it's a product and process innovation. And I'm going to say why. So we knew that product innovation represents the development of new technologies and products as well as new uses for existing products. Process innovation reflects more of an attempt to re-engineer or design the flow of activity in an organization. So that's changing a process. And that you are going to have to do, as I said, a little bit of research on, because we wouldn't know what processes it is that Uber had used. Have they used agile methodology? Have they changed the process? Have they done things a little bit differently compared to the way another business would have done it? So that you're going to have to find out. Yeah, is it a product innovation? Yeah, absolutely. I would say it is a product innovation. Your Airbnb, 100% is a new product in a sense, because it is at a level the first of its kind, where you can literally host people in your host your home to other people. Yeah, although I have to say, as wonderful as this seems, and as much as they assure safety, I would still be a little bit wary of this site, mostly because there's a lot of creepy stories on YouTube about Airbnb stories not going too well. But anyway, beside the point. Yeah, so if we go ahead, you're also going to mention this in your essay, guys. So this is an extra layer that you can add for the full 25 marks, right? You remember we spoke about low-end market disruptions, new entrant market disruptions, and top-down disruptions. You're going to talk about why you believe that Uber could actually go across more than just being a disruptive innovation. It could be a low-end market disruption. It could have been, or it could have at one point been a low-end market disruption. Is it a new entrant market disruption? Is it a top-down disruption? And you are going to justify why you believe it might fall into one of these categories or not. It's not a low-end market disruption at all. This is why I believe that it's not a low-end market disruption. I believe it was a new entrant market disruption. So you're going to be doing a little bit of reading in your textbook to get these definitions 100% in your head. And then, basically put down the explanations for that. So once you've got to that point where you've spoken about all that, beautiful conclusion, and that's it for question 3. So, yeah. I just think that, yes, go ahead, JD.
Hey, sorry about that. No, I just wanted to ask, so for the essay, we basically have to talk about all three different innovations, am I right?
There's 5. There's the big category
Wait, there's 5?
Yeah, there's the big category of disruptive innovations, right? There's sustainable innovations. Then there's the 3 that are on the slide here. And they can overlap, JD. So you can be a disruptive innovator, right? And you could have started off as a low-end market disruption. So let me give you an example of this, right? Your low-end market disruptions was Skype back in the day, right? And why was it a low-end market disruption? Because Skype back in the day was horrible, right? There was a lot of lag, there was a lot of static, but the reason we used Skype was because to make an international call using Skype was a lot cheaper than trying to call a number internationally. So the reason you end up using a low-end market disruption is even though it's terrible in terms of its quality,
it's cheaper,
it's more convenient, and the other option is just prohibitive, right? Back in the day, to make a phone call from your cell phone to a number overseas was 30 Rand a minute, right? Skype was way cheaper, or VoIP was a lot cheaper. So a lot of your disruptive innovations start off as low end. In other words, their technology is just terrible, or well, not even terrible, but not great, right? And then, of course, when they get more money or they gain popularity, they become a lot bigger in the markets. And yeah, basically, that's what I mean by that. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anything else, guys? Anyone else has a question? What is the word count for the essay? Gosh, that's a very good question, Darren. Oh,
Asking the real
gosh.
questions, yeah.
Guys, why don't you make it 2 pages?
2 pages, so roughly about 2,000 words.
Is 2 pages 2,000 words? I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Isn't a page like 500 words and on Word, and then like 2 pages would be like almost 1,000 words?
Okay, 1,000 words then.
I think, yeah. Don't worry
Cindy should
so
know.
much about the word count, Darren. Just as long as you've got everything there, I won't be too fussy. Of course, I don't want you to like type just half a page.
Cindy,
Nice to have examples. I mean, remember it is 25 marks. So if you want to think of it at the lowest common denominator, you have to make at least 25 points. Font 25, God says. Yeah. Yeah, anytime you guys actually think about questions like this, when they say 25 marks, 10 marks, whatever, at the lowest common denominator, okay, I've got to make 10 points. So in this sense, you got to make 25 points. If you can do it in 1 page, great, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know this is very discouraging, this 25 marks. Oh, we have to do an essay. Trust me, I feel your pain. Okay, so we spoke in Learning Unit 3 about the concept of business alignment with specific reference to Uber, except we can't talk about Uber, so we're going to talk about Airbnb. So, yeah, let's go ahead
Ruba.
and Ruba. So let's look at the definition of business alignment, which we did a good few weeks ago. So it's basically linking and configuring the strategic elements, key organizational system, processes, and structure in such a way that the implementation achieves the organization's shared vision and results beyond expectation. Alignment is usually supported these days by information systems and information systems, some of which are computer-based. Well, pretty much all are computer-based. And of course, if we're looking at Airbnb and we're looking at Uber, completely information-based. This, unfortunately, guys, you're going to have to, again, do some research. So you're going to look at the concept of business alignment, and you are going to say how you believe it aligns in terms of Uber. You can look, or Airbnb, in terms of this. So you look at basically you actually going to find a lot of information on this, I think. So you are going to filter through and put the most relevant stuff. In terms of business alignment, they give advantages to it, right? Improves business processes, reduces operational costs, promotes real-time visibility of business processes. So while you are talking about explain the concept of business alignment with specific reference to Uber, you're going to talk about the definition of business alignment, how you believe it specifically relates to Uber, do some research to basically get 1 or 2 more references to basically support your point, whatever it is that it's going to be. And you can even say that in terms of Uber, business alignment works very well because it actually does. It has improved business processes in terms of its business alignment. It's reduced its operational cost and how it's done that. As I said, you're going to have to research to find this out. And promotes real-time visibility of business processes. You can say how again, if it does have these business benefits linked to it. Again, research is needed. Because as I say, I could show you the definition of business alignment, but now you're going to have to research to say how it's going to specifically link to Uber, or your opinion on how you believe it relates to Uber, and find a reference that backs that up. Wonderful. Then they talk about providing evidence of the benefits of Uber's experience from ITIS alignment. And now we're going to have to look at what ITIS alignment is. And we know that they just had this insane time unpacking this definition in your textbook. So the best one, or the best set of slides that I could come up with was this from, and this again is straight from your textbook. And if we have to unpack the definition of ITIS alignment, organizational performance depends on structures and capabilities that support successful realization of strategic decisions. And alignment is a two-way process where business and IS strategies can act as mutual drivers. Strategic IS alignment is not an event, but a process of continuous adaptation and change. So looking at this website here, or this beautiful website, it's primarily a site that is linked in terms of its business strategy and its IS strategy. Why? Well, without IT, it ceases to exist. You're not going to write that, right? But I'm just saying, at the lowest common denominator, that's the best way to look at this particular question. What you want to do is, for this particular question over here, is look at the possible benefits. So you're going to start off with ITIS alignment. You can do this either from the textbook, or you can do this from your own research. And what benefits would they have come in terms of ITIS alignment? And I've got that here. Did it provide the business with organizational agility, operational efficiency, IT cost reduction, and risk management? And we can actually, I think, wonderfully unpack that a little bit more, I think. Yeah. So organizational agility is flexibility in terms of its organizational structure. Operational efficiency, definitely it would have an impact on operational efficiency, because everything seems to be real time. As I say, I don't really want to give you guys the answers, but you figure how Uber works, right? IT cost reduction, you're going to have to look in terms of their infrastructure a bit more. So you're going to have to do a bit more research. So these are, in terms of your textbook lists these as your business benefits of ITIS alignment, by the way. So you're going to say, provide evidence of the benefits. You're going to link it to these specific benefits. You're not going to just list those benefits down, guys. You're going to have to say how you believe that Uber benefits, or Uber has these benefits from IT alignment. So that's specifically what they want. Yeah. So that's in terms of that particular question. If we move on, now this is an interesting one. You have a car and you've been operating in your own capacity as a taxi driver. Explain on what makes your business an SME distinctive in the South African economy. So now you've got to pull your head away from Uber, because they've totally changed the game over here. So you have a car. You're not a driver for Uber. You're not a driver for Taxify or anything. You're working in your own capacity. You have your own car. This is basically your business. How are you an SME? So we know that an SME, or general definition of an SME, relates to the combination of the following: number of employees, turnover, and the notion that an SME is an independent entity. So your micro SME, if you have less than 10, you're small if you have under 50, and you're medium size if you have under than 250 in terms of your staff count. Your turnover, they're doing this in dollars, so sorry, euros. Yeah, we're not earning anywhere close to that. So yeah, I remember we went to Fred Footwear, right? So I think in terms of South Africa, if you're getting under, I think it's about either 20 to 15, 15 to 20 mil. If you're getting under that, you regard it as an SME. So we looked at Fred Footwear. Do you guys remember Fred Footwear? This wonderful website that we looked at?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. So you are a taxi driver in your own car, which makes you an SME. And what makes you distinctively an SME? Well, these are the things that you are going to need to talk about. Okay? And these are the things we did discuss in great detail. So the organizational structure, they said, has to be more flexible or is more flexible. And of course, your organizational structure is more flat. So that I don't really think would be the case with any of the actual organizations we look at, because they are not regarded as SMEs, or at least not anymore. So an SME would be something like, as we say, Fred Footwear. They probably have, I think, less than 100 people that work at Fred Footwear. If you are your own business, so to speak, your organizational structure is flat. Maybe it's just you, right? And especially in this scenario here, you are driving your own car. You are the manager. You are the driver. You are everything, unless you own the car and somebody else is the driver. And what I mean by flat organizational structure is both of you at a level are performing the same or similar duties. Both of you are managers at a level. You both are managing the process at some way. So yeah, organizational structure, flat, people, one person can take on pretty much every role. That's what it means. Yeah, so go through all of these amazing definitions in your textbook, and you are going to link it to this question here. What makes you distinctive? I don't know why they use such a weird example. I wish they told you guys to use your own example. That would be a lot better, but anyway, yeah. Question 5. Any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Everyone's good with that? Okay. So remember, guys, write like mad. If you have see something like for 15 marks, remember, as I say, lowest common denominator, you have to make at least 15 points. So
Write the entire book.
That's yeah, pretty much. So again, I know that some of these things are difficult to elaborate on, and if you find that they are difficult to elaborate on, I would say Google, and then get more things to say that relate to the point that you have. And I'd say that would be the most easy way to do it. Discuss how social exclusion can have an impact on profitability of Uber, but we can't say Uber, so we're going to say Airbnb. So, social exclusion. If you are not computer literate and you do not have computer access, then you are potentially disadvantaged. This digital divide poses serious ethical questions. So societies where polarization of information access is extreme run the risk of unrest among the have-nots, which could ultimately destabilize society with potentially devastating effects. Also, this danger is present when the emerging economic giants of China and India, where largest proportions of the populations have little or no digital access. So basically what they're saying is those people that don't have access to smartphones or data are not going to have access to Uber. And how would this impact the profitability of Uber? the same way it would impact the profitability of Airbnb or anything that is online. The thing about this question is we don't have much to go on for this mark scheme. Are you guys seeing this?
Also, I feel like it's very self-explanatory. I mean, if you
Yeah.
don't make money, you're not profitable.
If you don't have data, if you don't have a mobile phone, if you don't know how to use a mobile phone, then you can't use Airbnb because their entire idea is using mobile and is using the internet to get their services across.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what do? We turn it around a little bit and we give our own interpretation to this. You could do this, right? I'm giving everybody the same secret here. What we could do is look at the proportion of the population that has access to digital devices, to the internet, right? Because that proportion of the population that doesn't have access would be where these companies are losing profitability. To be fair, your giants like Uber and Airbnb are not really going to feel it. However, we do know that they could make a lot more money if everybody was connected. So I think that's one way of answering this question. So you do the fairly obvious thing. You start talking about, yes, there's several haves and have-nots in our country. This would be the statistics in terms of those who have access, those who don't have access. You're going to talk a bit about how well or how not well Uber is doing, or sorry, Airbnb is doing in this country. And then you're going to go on with this proportion of the population, if they did have access to the internet and if they did have smartphones and they were digitally literate, this could be how much more profit Uber could potentially make, or Airbnb could potentially make. So again, even though you could have all those facts together, you guys might need to ramble on a bit for 15 marks. You guys think you can do that?
Well, I hope so.
I mean, we can try.
We can
You
try.
can try.
Most of our degree is just making up crap in any case. I mean, look at the research assignment. It's 3,000 words of
bullshit.
I love this, JD.
I'm telling you. This probably
I mean,
shouldn't be recorded,
it
okay?
is exactly like that, yeah.
No, guys, we can't say it now. We need to say it afterwards. So it's not recorded.
After we award
This is a very prestigious degree. We worked very hard to get it, yeah.
We only work with facts.
Only.
Yeah,
We
only
don't
say
touch
facts.
something that there's no facts. We don't touch it if it doesn't have facts. I mean, look at our coding. We definitely didn't copy and paste anything.
And paraphrase.
And paraphrase. Yeah, we paraphrase code, yeah.
So what you
JD.
can, as long as you attribute the code, it's all fine.
Yeah, but we didn't even need to. We just made up our own everything. We're just that great, you know? The degree is just that great.
Except for
JD?
Angular, you guys.
Oh,
Angular.
yeah,
We just
Yes.
copied and pasted.
No, this is recorded. No, we made up everything, all right? We literally used our own initiative here. We designed the language. It's a very prestigious degree, all right? Whoever's listening to this.
Well, Angular was designed for us to give you guys everything and you implement the security, but I think it happened where it was just like, okay, we gave you guys everything plus the security, put it together, see if it works.
And get the marks.
No, that never happened. It was a group activity where we designed our own security.
Yeah,
you
it's,
just-
it's a collaboration.
desi-
It's collaboration.
And you guys designed your own forums.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good stuff. Okay. Social exclusion. Yeah. Okay. Now this question here is a little bit annoying in the way it's phrased. Conduct additional research on Uber and provide an example of any 5 forms of stakeholder engagement wherein Uber engages. Support your answer with a screenshot of the engagement method. Okay, beautiful.
What?
As I said, I don't like the phrasing of this, although this question, as I say, isn't actually really all that difficult. So if we have to look back a few weeks on the lecture we did, which had stakeholder engagement. So what is stakeholder engagement? It's basically communication with your stakeholders. And the stakeholders would primarily be your customers, okay? So because your customers obviously have a vested interest in your business because they like what you do, they want you to do well. So communication is one way of how you would engage with your customers. How do some businesses do this? They use Instagram, right? So they followed their customers happily followed them back. They've put up posts on Instagram to keep the communication going. So they have these ways of communicating: regular newsletters, annual reports, periodic updates regarding key developments. It could be in the form of an SMS, guys. So you've got your network provider, Cell C, Vodacom, MTN, and every so often you would receive an SMS from them. That would be a way that they are engaging with their stakeholders. They are communicating with you via SMS to say, hey, you know, if you spend $30, you're going to get like 5 gigs of data for the next 2 days, or whatever it is that those promotions are going to keep coming on. So that's basically one way of stakeholder engagement. Dynamic and static websites. Dynamic websites are pretty much all that we have. And basically, if you see this, dynamic and static websites mean it's a website I can interact with. In other words, I can log on, I can sign up, I'm going to get information back from the website. A static website is only going to give me information and I can't really interact with it, like a profile, okay? Articles in the sector, press or local newspapers, or in academic literature is another way you can engage with stakeholders. They also say consultation dialogue, hold consultation meetings for changes, if there are any changes, hold open meetings. Now, of course, this would deal with obviously your boards, your stakeholders on certain boards and stuff, which I don't think really we have to worry about too much. Yeah. So also they talk about stakeholder engagement in terms of how involved you want your stakeholders to be. But I say specifically in terms of these cases, we're looking at this one over here, communication. Email could be one of them, guys, by the way. But let's look at the Airbnb side. How do they engage, or what screenshots particularly can I look at in terms of their engagement methods? And yeah, so they want 5 forms of stakeholder engagement. Beautiful. So you're gonna have to think of 5 ways, and my thing is definitely it would be under communication. You can read through the rest of these to see if it fits in, but in terms of Uber or your case studies, even if you have to look at Airbnb, I think communication would be the one that's most prevalent, and we can talk about 5 ways they engage. So how do they engage? Let's take a look. And generally you see this at the bottom of this, the page of the site. So they have this wonderful link called community, which means they want to build a community with their stakeholders. Because the way they've designed their business in terms of Airbnb, everyone is not just a customer, but they are also a host. And the hosts and the customers form this community, along with obviously the owners of the site. So let's look at this: diversity and belonging. So our diverse global community makes Airbnb possible. So they are thanking us. Great, okay? At the heart of the mission is the idea that people are fundamentally good and every community is a place where you can belong. I sincerely believe that discrimination is the greatest challenge we face and stand as a company. It cuts to the core of who we are and the values that we stand for. And that's basically what the CEO is saying, right? So basically, he's going very much against discrimination. Our hosts are leading the way. So he's basically communicating his ideology here. We want to hear from you. So we are inspired by the vibrancy of our community center, where our hosts share stories and ideas of each other. Great. Amazing. We can do screenshots, right? They have a community center. So we find the community center. That's how they are engaging with their customers, right? And they're doing it via their website, discussion forums that they are using on this website. So basically, it's how you get to communicate with your site, with your app, which I actually think is very well. These people have done an amazing job here. They've literally got a community center, and they even got my Airbnb journey. They've got stories. They really seem to have gone really all out there with this. Yeah. So yeah, we want to hear from you. They very, very much hiring and inclusion at Airbnb. So yeah, not just are we a workplace, but we're also part of the community. We are offering jobs to the community. Very nice. So how else do we hear from them? We've got this accessibility. So let's see what that is. Here's how we are building a more accessible Airbnb, what we are working towards. So they are quite communicative. Accessible experiences, more accessible Airbnb experiences, unique activities hosted by local experts. So awesome. They basically are connecting out of the site as well. So yeah, as you can see, they pretty detailed with how they actually invite friends. Okay, log on to invite. Okay, this is awesome. Invite friends to join the Airbnb community. Friends who are new will get up to 1,200 of a qualifying booking. Read the terms. And then they talk about how referrals work. So they basically are inviting more stakeholders in a sense by having these discounts available. Yeah. So yeah, they've actually done quite a lot. You guys are going to look at this in terms of what Uber has done in terms of how you can communicate with them, how they engage with stakeholders. If you want to go deeper and find out how, who sits on their board, etc. Yeah, you could do that. But as I say, I think in terms of this question, we're mostly going to focus on communication. By the way, this is in your textbook, all of this. Okay. Okay, guys. Questions, comments, queries?
Gotta find the mic. I think I'm good. Thank you so much, Sarah, for actually doing this for us.
No, you're most welcome. So guys, who has actually started this assignment?
Me.
Okay.
I read it.
You read it, okay. Okay. That's good enough, I guess. Who's finished it?
Nope, I think we're all focused on Prague, and then, well, I have intention to finish it maybe Thursday.
Okay, so Matthew's halfway. Okay, you guys are gonna finish it on Thursday. Okay, so guys, how about we do this? Thursday, you guys will be mostly done. Am I right?
Well,
Gonna
well,
be
I'm going
at
to
least I should
try.
be.
tomorrow. Okay. On Thursday, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to have a Q&A on the assignment
Yes,
for
please.
about
That
an
will help a
hour?
lot.
And then the next, because you guys will be mostly finishing off, and then in the next hour, we can cut the live session, and what we can then do is I can answer you guys individually if you want. If you guys have individual queries.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
nice.
Are you guys happy with that?
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with that. Yeah.
Oh,
I
you're
mean, that's
welcome.
more than enough than we
Yeah, then
should
see,
get.
then you guys have no excuse. You guys have to get 100%.